What's up everybody, Straw Hats Are Cool here, and we are back again with another video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the newly released ST14 Luffy leader and some of the cards that were introduced in that deck, and trying to make it work in some gameplay. Won't be jumping in ranked today. I've been having a lot of fun with this deck, but it's not one that I'm confident enough to take into the ranked server. I am pretty highly ranked right now, so I'm trying not to tank my rank too much by playing with this deck, so I have just been playing kind of more casually for this one, but I've still got some good games in there that I hope you all look forward to. Before we get into today's video, as always, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting me in the channel. I know uploads have been a little spotty recently, but hopefully moving forward I can get a little bit better with that, as I really am trying to commit to being more having a more consistent lifestyle in general, just from day to day and for content creation. We did recently pass 2,800 subscribers, getting pretty close to 3K, which is a really big milestone that we're trying to hit. So if you're enjoying the content, you have not done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel. If you're not already in our Discord, link for that will be in the video description, and as well as our TCG player affiliate link. So if you plan on buying any new cards, including the cards from Starter Deck 14, do consider using that link, as a small percentage of your purchase will go towards supporting me and the channel. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile. So as we said, that we are going to be playing with the new Starter Deck 14 Luffy leader. This is a new mono black Luffy leader. So this is going to be our second mono black Luffy leader. We did get one previously in Starter Deck 8, and as a lot of you know from the if you've been watching the channel for some time, I am a big fan of just kind of playing all the Luffy leaders. I always try to make them work, red purple Luffy being one of, if not my favorite deck in the entire game. Now I will say, this deck, I haven't done a lot of testing, and I'm sure there's a lot more stuff I can try and do with it, and I probably will in the future, but this was just kind of my initial build, and it's been doing okay, all things considered, for a deck that's not very competitively viable. I have been finding a decent amount of success with it. So let's go ahead now and talk about the leader and the cards we've decided to include in this deck. So as we already mentioned, it is a mono black leader. It is your standard 5,000 power 5 life leader, and its effect states that Dawn 1, so that's it's both turns, so on yours and your opponent's turn this effect will be active so long as there is a Dawn on your leader. You give all of your characters +1 to their cost, and then if you control an 8 cost or higher character, this leader gains plus 1,000 power. So if we have an 8 cost character on the board and a Dawn on the leader, it does become a 6,000 power based leader, and as we've seen with leaders like Newgate and red purple Luffy, that is a really powerful effect. But it is conditional behind the fact that you do need to have an 8 cost or higher in play. Do keep in mind though that because you give +1 cost to all your characters with this effect, really you only need a 7 cost character in play and a Dawn on this leader in order for you to get that bonus power. So the idea here is we're going to be playing not necessarily 8 cost characters. We play kind of more of a mid-range style, and then we have ways of buffing those characters up to an 8 cost so that we can be a 6,000 power leader. This is the first series of cards that introduced buffing your own character's cost. So as you'll see with some of the other characters we've decided to include for this deck, that the needing to have specifically costed characters is kind of a theme for this archetype. So moving on now to the rest of the deck, we've got 3 copies of Brook from EB01. A card that a lot of us are probably familiar with this point, as it has seen a lot of play in decks such as Rob Lucci. It's a 3-cost 4,000 power character with 1k counter. It has an on-play and when attacking effect that states give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn, and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0 or less. So effectively being able to hit 1-cost characters, as it does give the -1 and then KO something. Because of how it works with that -1 and then KOing, you can also just use it as a form of cost reduction in a pinch. And it is really nice, as being a 3-cost means it is able to be grabbed and played off of cards like Rebecca. So just a nice little removal tool we have for the deck that pairs nicely with any cost reduction cards. Speaking of cost reduction cards, we've got 2 copies of Kuzan. Just a nice little natural attacking body. On play, we get to draw a card, and then of course we have that when attacking effect that states we get to give one of our opponent's characters -4 to their cost during the turn, which can bring highly costed characters within range of our removal effects. Next up, we've got Suru, really just the best 2k counter for most black decks, really just a staple for all the black decks. Just a 1-cost 0-power character, but we do have that on play that allows us to give -2 to cost. So most of the time it's just going to be a 2k counter, but in a pinch it can serve as a form of cost reduction in order to allow us to remove one of our opponent's bigger characters. We've got 4 copies of Sabo, another staple for black, and this one is getting pretty expensive. As this one is not getting a reprint in the PRB set that we'll be getting sometime in November. So the only printing we have is the one from OP04. But we know Sabo, 5-cost, 6,000 power blocker, 1k counter, and then we got that on play effect that allows all of our characters to be immune to KO effects for a turn, as well as allowing us to cycle with that draw to trash 2. So just a nice little consistency tool. Because it's not a red deck, we're not able to use the Searcher Nami in this deck, so the deck is lacking a little bit of consistency, but Sabo does help quite a bit of that with the filtering. Also running 4 copies of the Bartolomeo, a 2k counter that hasn't seen a lot of play recently, but it is a 3-cost 3,000 power character, 2k counter, but it does have the plus side of also being a blocker. So in certain matchups, it can be nice just to play this out to have an additional blocker. And it is a 3-cost, which means we can grab it off of Rebecca. We're also running 3 copies of the Dressrosa Luffy from OP04. In this one, it's been really good, but it's also very situational. So I'm thinking about potentially switching this one out for something else, but the main reason that we're running it is because it is a 7-cost Straw Hat type character. So being a 7-cost power character, or 7-cost character, means that with 1 Dawn on our leader, we do get that power boost, as it will put him up to an 8-cost. 7,000 power, it can attack active characters, and then activate main once per turn. You can return 7 cards from the trash to your bottom of your deck in any order, and then set this character as active. But then during the next refresh phase, after using this effect, it will not be set to active. So essentially what that activate main effect does is that you can get 2 attacks with it, which, as you'll see in one of the games we have, did come in pretty clutch for us, essentially allowing us to get another attack in. It is a little costly, and being that we're not a deck like Lucci that can easily fill the trash, it can be hard to fulfill that 7 cards in trash requirement, but towards the end of the game, typically you're able to get it off if you need to. But really, one of the reasons I was running this is because it's just a nice 7-cost character that allows us to easily buff up our leader. We're also running 4 copies of One Leg Soldier. This is the last 2k counter we're running. Very similar to Suru. This one you have to trash it though, and then you get to give -3 to the cost. So just another black 2k counter, only this one gets to reduce the cost by 3 by putting it in the trash. So again, very similar to Suru and just letting us remove bodies if we need to, but most of the time just going to serve as a 2k counter. We've talked about Rebecca a couple times already, mentioned how it synergizes with cards like Brook and Bartolomeo. But Rebecca, really, again, just one of the best cards in black. Really can't believe that this one didn't get hit in the most recent ban and restricted announcement. But after seeing the latest reveal for the next set of championship cards over in Japan, I would have to imagine it's because this card is going to be featured as one of the cards in that set. It's going to be the Rebecca, Shirahoshi, and Vivi. And so they probably just didn't want to ban a card that's going to be getting a prize card. So I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. Rebecca or Moria, something probably needed to get hit there. But nonetheless, Rebecca is a good card, so we're going to be playing it. 4 cost blocker, and on play we can return a 3/7 cost character from the trash to our hand, and then you may play 1 3 cost or lower black character from your hand onto the field rested. So just a really nice consistency tool, helping us grab back any pieces that we might need. The only things that you can't really grab back are going to be your Surus, one-leg soldiers, and the Sabo. Everything else does fall within that 3 to 7 cost range. Next up, we've got the Brook from OP06, and this card is really nice for this deck, but the one thing that really kind of sucks is that unfortunately this Brook is not Straw Hat type, which means that with the stage that we'll talk about in a little bit, you don't get the additional cost buff. And it would have been really nice if you did get that buff, because with that stage and a Dawn on your leader, if this was Straw Hat type, Brook would be an 8 cost character, meaning you would get the buff from your leader effect. But unfortunately that's not the case, but we're still running 3 copies because it's a good card. It's got a on play where you get to choose one of 2 effects. The first one is the one you're going to be using most often, which states you can place a character with a cost of 4 or less into the trash. And the wording here is not a mistranslation. It is not KOing a 4 cost or less. It is simply placing it into the trash. So it does bypass immunity to KO effects such as the buff provided by Sabo. And it also gets around on KO effects, so very good at dealing with cards like Okiku, which have really annoying on KO effects. And the second effect doesn't come up a whole lot, but can be used against decks like Nami, which states you can have your opponent put 3 cards from their trash to the bottom of the deck. So against a deck like Nami, which is trying to deck itself out, putting a couple cards back in their deck can be meaningful. Next up, we've got 3 copies of the Nightmare Luffy from OP07. This is a card that's been seeing more play in decks like Rod Bluchi as of recently, and it does fit pretty well with this deck, being a Straw Hat type character, and has a kind of similar effect to the Brook in a way. So this is a 5 cost 6,000 power character with 1k counter, and it's when attacking effect says that you can trash a character with a cost of 2 or less, and then you can place any number of characters with a cost of 4 or more from the trash to your bottom of your deck. And then the character gains an additional 1,000 power during the turn for every 3 cards placed to the bottom of your deck in that way. So if you've got a lot of 4 cost and higher characters, you can buff this up pretty big. And one of the matchups where this can be very relevant is the Black Yellow Luffy deck. Oftentimes they'll be walling behind a Sabo or 2, and so with this, if you're able to reduce the cost of the Sabo with something like the one-leg toy soldier or Surus, you can potentially get a really big attack off, and they also get around the immunity that Sabo provides, which is pretty powerful. Other than that though, it's just kind of a nice when attacking removal card. So fits pretty well with the deck and the other cost reduction cards that we're running. The only top end character that we're running right now is 3 copies of the 8 cost Sabo. This is an 8 cost 9,000 power secret rare character with an on-play effect that states we may trash one card from our hand and then KO up to one of our opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less and up to one with a cost of 3 or less. So nice way of being able to remove a couple bodies, which can be pretty relevant. And when coupled with a card like Kuzan or even Brook, as well as the Nico Robin that we're going to talk about here in just a minute, can also remove fairly high costed characters for a pretty simple cost of just trashing one card, but we also get to establish a 9,000 power body. Now, I guess I'll go ahead and touch on it now, since this is the only boss monster we're running, and I'm sure I'm going to get lots of comments because not everyone watches this segment of the video where we kind of talk about the card by card, and I'm sure there are going to be plenty of people commenting why I'm not running the 8 cost Gecko Moria, as it is genuinely one of the best cards in the game, could even be the best card in the game. It just allows for some of the most egregious plays in the game to happen. But with really how this deck is trying to function, it just didn't really fit with the other cards that I think you need to be running in the deck. So for that reason, I'm not running the 8 cost Gecko Moria. And we'll talk about why here with these next 2 cards, because really I think these 2 cards are more or less the reason to run the deck. These cards are really good, but they don't really work with any other leader. They're very specific to Luffy because of their requirements. So first up, we've got this 5 cost Sanji. It's a 6,000 power character, no counter on this one, but its on-play effect states that if you have a cost 6 or higher character in play, KO up to one of your opponent's 5 cost or lower characters. Now, it being a 5,000 or a 5 cost 6,000 power body that can remove a 5 cost character is absolutely phenomenal, but there is that requirement that you must have a 6 cost or greater character in play in order to get that effect. However, with Luffy, if you put a Dawn on the leader, when this card comes into play, it will get the buff from the leader immediately, making it itself a 6 cost character, thus proccing its own effect. And the same thing for the stage. The stage, it goes ahead and buffs all your Straw Hat type characters by 1. So if you have this in play, again, that effect will immediately apply to Sanji as soon as it hits play, before checking for that on play effect. Thus, again, making it a 6 cost character, allowing it to proc its own effect, which is really, really nice. And that's kind of like what I was saying. It really only works with this deck. It's very specific to this deck, but the effect is really good. Being able to remove a 5 cost power with no requirement. You don't have to trash anything. Like, you're not losing any hand size. You just have to have that 6 cost character in play. Now, in similar fashion to the Sanji, this is another really good card, but it only works well with this leader. It's Nico Robin, a 6 cost 7,000 power character with 1k counter, and it has an on play and when attacking effect that states if you have an 8 cost or higher character on the field, give one of your opponents -5 to their cost. Now, because this is an on play and when attacking effect, it's absolutely insane cost reduction. But again, it's a little tricky to fulfill that 8 cost or higher. So really, you need to have the stage on board to give it +1, making Robin a 7. And then a Dawn on leader will bring it up to 8 cost. So with the stage and a Dawn on your leader, again, Robin will proc her own effect, as she herself will be an 8 cost character. So for both the on play and when attacking effect, you will get that -5 cost reduction, which synergizes very well with our Brook, as well, both Brooks really, the 3 cost, the 6 cost, the Luffy, as well as the Sanji, just allowing us to remove really high costed power characters for very little investment. Now, this is another card that's probably on the chopping block. It's been okay. I think I probably only played it in 1 game, and it may not even be one that I recorded. It's just a vanilla 6 cost 8,000 power character, Really fantastic art on this one, though, I will say. But the reason we're running it is because with Stage and Luffy, it's just another card that on its own can proc our leader effect. Very similar to Robin, as with the Stage and the leader effect, it will be an 8 cost power character proccing the leader effect. And I've already talked about the Stage a lot, but it's just a 1 cost Stage. When you play it, you get to draw a card, so if you get multiple of these and you've got extra Dawn, you can just use it to dig through your deck. But then while it's in play, on all turns, your black characters with Straw Hat typing get +1 to their cost, which helps with proccing the effects for your Nico Robin, your Sanjis, as well as your leader effect. So this is the deck, and I will say, like I already touched on, I'm not running the Gecko Moria. I think that, like, obviously Gecko Moria is very good. And one of the reasons I was thinking about playing Gecko Moria was to play this card that we're also not running. Super long name, Gum Gum, Diable, 3 sword style, mutton, jet, 600-pound cannon. That's a mouthful. But this card is essentially Houndblaze for black, but you have to have an 8 cost power or 8 cost character in play in order to get the effect. So my thought process was that you could do something like Gecko Moria into a Rebecca, maybe a Helmeppo or a Suru, and then Rebecca, grab back Hina, so you're getting a lot of cost reduction, and then you can use this to remove pretty much anything. But my issue with that combo, while it may be good, is that it doesn't really synergize with the deck, because that would be a 10 Dawn play, which means you're not getting to put a Dawn on your leader, and you're not getting that additional 1000 power. And at that point, you're just running a vanilla leader. And yeah, like, this card came in the deck, so maybe you want to try and play it in here with the Gecko Moria, but it kind of defeats the purpose of the deck, and really it's probably better played in any other black deck, as their effects would synergize with that more than this one. And the card's not even searchable. It's not like we have a black Straw Hat Searcher, so you don't get any benefit from running it in this deck. So while it might be a good combo, it just doesn't synergize with the deck. Most of the other cards in the starter deck, aside from this one, I don't think we'll see much play. The Sanji and Robin pretty good, but everything else is pretty mediocre. So this is the deck list, and like I said, this is kind of very early and just kind of my initial deck list that I've tweaked a little bit based on the games that I've played, but it feels pretty good. It's a fun deck to play. Definitely not something I'd take to a regional, but something that you can take to a local and you'll have a lot of fun with it. So if that's what you're looking to do, I'd recommend trying it out. Let me know what your build's looking like down in the comment section below. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into some gameplay. Alright, we got a game here against Doflamingo. Generally, I like to go second. I think I will. I was thinking about going first just because it does kind of throw off their curve. Not terrible. We'll try it. We've got the one-leg toy soldier, so we can KO a 4-cost with Brook. Probably just play Brook out on our 4-Dawn turn. Hope it sticks around. We got another Brook. Could also preemptively play the toy soldier. Don't think they'll have any way to get rid of it. I guess we'll go ahead and do that. We can get rid of whatever they play next turn, assuming they do play out a 4-cost. Gonna be doing their leader effect to a Jinbei Weevil. We'll go ahead and take that, get the stage. So we'll go ahead and pop that. The Weevil down. And I think we'll just play out the stage and then swing into the Jinbei. Counter out of that one. Luffy will help boost our leader up since he's a natural 7 cost. Really would be really good if we could get a Robin here. Since we have the Brook out and the stage, we just, once we get a Dawn on our leader, the Robin can start putting in some work. Be a 6k. I'm gonna counter out of that one. And then a 5k. Take, we get another toy soldier. Gonna do convey into a Moria. And I'm trying to think the best way to go about this. We got the toy soldier, so we can take out another 4 cost with the Brook. Better to leave the Brook active, though. I could just play another Brook. Swing 7. Start to develop too much of a board. I go 5. Yeah, I think we'll just go. This one's probably gonna die. Yeah, we'll go 7. At the act or the rested one. And then we'll do the toy soldier. Okay, so they are going to choose to protect it. Go ahead and get the gecko down there. If they want to give us another card. They do. So they've not really got any cards. Probably play out the Luffy next turn. Put a Dawn on our leader. They'll bring us up to a 6k leader. I'm gonna take out the Brook. We can do that and then swing 7 into the rested Jinbei. And then hopefully we untap with the Luffy and we can start attacking into their active stuff. Gonna be doing a 7. Take that. Another Rebecca. And then they might just do an 8 with their leader effect. So they're gonna be doing a 6. Don't have a 2k, but I think I'm gonna counter out of these. Can play that out. Have not been able to attack their life at all yet. Not good. Okay, Mihawk's not gonna work thanks to the additional buff we get from our leader, so a bit of a misplay there from the opponent. Definitely want to Dawn here. 1, 2, 4. Could just attack into the Mihawk. Is that good? Probably pretty good. Don't particularly want them having a big body like that on the board. Go like that. And then we'll Rebecca grab back a 2K. We've got the 6K leader going. We've got Toy Soldier and Sabo, so depending on what they play, we can take out a couple things next turn. We've also just got Brooke to KO a 4-cost outright. We need that. Still got 4 life. And we didn't use the effect on our Luffy. We don't quite have 7 cards in trash yet. They're gonna be gravity blading just to get rid of the Rebecca. And a 7K swing. We'll protect. I think we could, well, we probably need to start progressing towards actually winning the game. We could do Brooke. Get rid of that. And then just do a couple of attacks. Or we could do Rebecca Sabo. That leaves this. That'd be okay though. We're definitely putting one here. I don't like the idea of Rebecca Sabo, so we go 7-7. Rebecca Sabo. Or we could just do 8-9 and get rid of it with the Brook. That's probably fine. That can get answered by a Gravity Blade. This at least demands some other answer. Can't even get rid of the Brook right now with the Gravity Blade thanks to the +1 from the lead. It does kind of suck that the Brook is not a Straw Hat type though, because we don't get the additional buff from the 1000 Sunny stage. I think we're looking okay here. Gonna be swinging into us. 7 Dawn. I just want to take it, to be honest. Brook. They just don't know what our deck does. Yeah, so they ended up scooping it up. They're not paying attention to the additional buffs we're getting from our costs there. I think they probably could have easily won that game if they knew what our deck did, but they played the Mihawk, essentially just a vanilla, and the Gravity Blade were both bad. So Yeah, people just not reading the cards. Typical card game stuff. Alright, we are up against a Katakuri. Let's go second. This hand's decent. If we can get the stage, Robin becomes very good. Got the Brule search. Gonna be a pass from us. Just a 9k swing from the opponent. We're gonna leave that life at the top, so it must be pretty decent. Let's see what they got. No triggers, it must be something they wanted in hand at the very least. We'll play out the Brook to take out the Pudding. They got the Gadatsu. Let's counter with the Zoro. Yeah, we're just gonna do a 5k. We'll play out the Robin. Once we have the Luffy out, the Robin can start doing work. So it is going to be a couple turns off, but hopefully they can't disrupt our board too much and we can survive long enough to get Luffy on board. Do Robin. Really, I'm just gonna give it to them. And I want the cards. Take that one. Okay, we got our 1000 Sunny. We're not gonna play it out here though, because I want to play out the Luffy. Get the Dawn on my leader. So now that I'm up to a 6k. We're gonna defend that. Next turn. Potentially start doing some damage. The Robin, I need the Brook. My only removal right now. Okay, we got Sanji as well. Gotta take that too. We definitely want to Dawn on our leader. It's our Robin active. Robin gives -5. Slightly annoying. I can't get the mom because Brook only hits a 1. So do we just tack into the Gadatsu, I guess? Give them -5 there. Yeah, they'll let it go. We'll attack life. No trigger. Go ahead and do Becca. We'll grab back a Brook and just play it out. Reduce the cost, I guess. Well, in that case, let's actually, I didn't think about the additional reduction we'd be getting. Let's go like that. Lay out the stage. We got a decent board, but we probably just die because they still have 5 life. Probably got some good triggers in there. We lose our last one to the Linlin. No. You can keep the blocker around. Okay. We got, so that's -5. Probably need to do Sanji on this one. Actually, let's start poking into this one. So 10. They've not used too much counter yet. They'll probably counter out, and depending on what we do next turn. Okay, so they don't. All right. What'd they get? Nothing? Iku. Don't have a 2K. We're gonna have to block. Brook's not bad. I do Brook. Rebecca, I don't get to put a Dawn on my leader. Might be okay. That's not good. Let's kill that. Let's back into that. We will attack here. That. Crash that. Grab back. Guess just the Brook. I do a Linlin. That. If they have any sort of triggers here, I think I'm just dead. Okay. 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 You're saying there's a chance. I need that gone. We'll attack there. Let that go. Okay. We're doing our darndest. It's gonna be another Linlin. All right. Let's start with a 7. Do another 7. Nine. It'll be 9, 9. We'll go 10. And this way, if they get a beige, we can still restand this. So they did get a beige, but we're good because we can restand this. Throw everything on it. Big! We made it. If I attack with the Luffy there and they beige this, I just lose. So I needed to attack with the Luffy. I actually managed to pull that one out, unless, I mean, I don't think the most they can have is 13. Are they just like salty stalling now? No, yeah, they just disconnect. Oh, yeah. That was a good one. I like that game. They had quite a few triggers, and it seemed like we were kind of on the back foot the whole time. They got to heal a lot because I did 2 heals from moms. They played 2 10 moms, so that's 4 heals. A heal with a Kiku, 5 heals. So we had to get through like 10 life there, but we managed to do it.